And that's where we start with Mario Cristobal, who joins us now on the Davis Roofing Hotline. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. How are we doing?
Good. Well, Mario, let's start with, as I was just saying, there are times where you can view your team as almost predictable, both in a bad lens and a good lens. To me, this was the best kind of predictable in that there's something to be said for when you know you want to go to a receiver like JaJuan, when you know you have a weapon like Mykael Wright, when you know you want to keep a lid on the coverage with your corners against that wide receiver core. The other team is trying to stop all those things. You imposed your will, and your players imposed their will throughout that game on Saturday night and all the things they wanted to do.
Well, you know what? Once we got some of that anxiety out of us, we started executing and really hitting on all cylinders. Guys were really efficient. Their attention to detail in terms of what we were trying to accomplish was really off the charts. And, of course, minus the penalties that we got to clean up, overall, really, really pleased with some high-level execution, some real physical play.
You mentioned the penalties. You go from, and this isn't just one game, and obviously this, as best I can tell quickly researching this, that might have been the most penalized any of your teams has ever been in your career, as best I can tell. So it wasn't just one game. It's been going on for a few weeks now. How do you try to go about curbing this and getting back to the discipline you guys had displayed? Because you can say it's uncharacteristic to that extreme, but you've gone from best in the conference to worst in the conference in the span of a month. How do you guys go about correcting this week?
Well, we preach and we teach a very aggressive and physical brand of football, and we've got to teach one that continues to do that but does not go over the edge, where all of a sudden we're hurting ourselves and compromising the opportunity to win the football game. And it's got to come with some discipline and some core values that bring consequences if we can't get that accomplished. I don't think there's any lack of want to. I don't think there's a lack of wanting to win or anything of that nature. But we have to learn poise, because at the end of the day, sometimes teams will bait you into that, and you can't ever get caught up in that kind of play. That's not physical and tough football. That's after the fact stuff, and it's not us and won't be us, and we got to get it right.
Mario, after the game, you talked about the mental training beyond the physical, beyond the weight room, beyond the off-season conditioning. That's all huge. That's all enormous as well. But the mental training that the players have done over the last year as well. Expand on that a little bit. What goes into that from a mental training standpoint, beyond trying to set up and simulate something in practice and say, well, this is 2-minute or 4-minute or goal to go or what have you, situational stuff on the field. What else goes into the mental training that has changed this team over the last year?
Well, we train the mind just like we train the body. We invest in exercises and guest speakers, and then an actual course that we teach, the mindset course that is all about mental toughness and accountability. And then we apply those principles and values to practice situations that demand us to perform under, duress, and that tend to bring about a much more favorable reaction than what human nature would have you react with. And you can't just talk about it. You have to rep it. And if you don't get the results you want, or you got to keep repping it. And, I look at this thing over a 2-year period of time where, we started trending where we had a couple more, road victories in tough situations last year, to now where our guys, due to processes, feel real confident when we go on the road. And that being said, we still have to improve upon it. So overall, yeah, it's a critical part of our program and our training sessions.
Does that training, beyond encompassing the players, which is huge, does that encompass yourself and the coaching staff for those situations where you have to make those quick calculations on the sideline, where you might not have a timeout and you've got to make a quick call? Does that encompass the staff as well?
Absolutely, and I think it's paid off. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe in the middle 8, last 4 of the half and first 4 of the second half, I believe we're tops in the country, or top 5, due to some just really good adjustments. Credit to the entire staff. Credit to the players taken to the adjustments, because, we spent an extraordinary amount of time together, and being together for a second year allows you to really not only work on your craft, but have and search and seek the answers to the things that people are going to counter you with. And applying that to practice, making sure that it is part of our regimen, has really allowed us to make adjustments on the run. Our players understand and recognize and have familiarity with those adjustments, and it's paying off in really good execution.
Another key difference in this team this year, Mario, obviously the last 2 weeks in particular, is the addition of JaJuan Johnson, who now at full health just had himself a career day this past weekend. To me, there was no more play emblematic of the difference he brings to the field than that end zone fade because of his size and what he can do against most corners in this league in particular, just his sheer size. And that play came on an audible, no less. How different is that to have in your arsenal and playbook in goal to go and in the red zone in particular compared to a year ago where, yeah, you had Jake Breland was on this team a year ago, but you didn't have a particularly big receiver at 6'6".
Yeah, no, it adds a different dimension to the offense. I think all our big guys are getting the opportunity to get the ball with JaJuan, of course, getting that fade. But you look at him and his play, his style of play, which was physical both with the ball or without the ball in his hands. And you look at the way Brian Addison has been coming along, another big target, 6'5+. You look at Spencer Webb, the way he's catching the football. These are big catch radius guys that, it's just different. It's just different when you add guys to the mix like Johnny and like Red, like Micah Pittman and Josh Delgado. Now you got a nice mix, and I think Justin is just feeling really, really comfortable with these guys because they're investing a lot of time in the precision of the passing game. And so far, it's paying off, and looking forward to getting better.
Wanted to get a personnel update from you in that we saw CJ appeared to be wincing via the television, at least towards the end of the first half, didn't play the second half. Cyrus had the one carry. What is the status of both of them? How are they doing?
CJ tweaked a little bit, lower body, nothing bad. We don't think he's going to miss a single day of practice, but, at the same time, we felt, Travis was running really good. Obviously, Felix, he had a great week of practice. We're going to play him regardless. And then Cyrus did he hit his quad last week, and it swelled up a little bit, enough where it slowed him down some. He managed to get out there on special teams and perform, but run the football is going to be a little bit more difficult. So we limited his opportunities from a running back spot. But I feel good about both those guys overall. Thought it was great to have Troy out there. Obviously played in the cast, but he's healthy and ready to go. Thinking aside from that, thinking who else? Also, Dallas. Well, Dallas strained a hip flexor on the last play of the game against Washington State on that field goal. He took about 3 guys on when, they do that, what they call that beach rush, where it's 3 guys over the guard trying to knock him back. So he strained it and didn't heal enough to be real effective. I mean, those guys are pretty good up front. Their front seven has good players. And then I think aside from that, we're good to go.
Chatting with Mario Cristobal for another couple of minutes. He's fitting us in between some meetings at Oregon this week. Mario, defensively, red zone defense has been absolutely incredible. These are the best numbers since I believe it's 2012, and if you get into the touchdown numbers, it's even better going back longer than that in this program. You lead the country currently in turnover margin, though second on a per-game basis with Alabama, but nevertheless. Does Andy, at this point, I'm sure you were very confident in the hire, et cetera, going back months, but does he belong in the Broyles conversation? Because there are numbers your defense is putting up right now that is really amazing.
I'm a big believer in that, in our staff, and I thank him, and I wish it was more than just the coordinator. I wish him and the rest of those guys on that defensive staff could be involved, as well as the guys on the offensive staff. So I think they're all doing a great job, and as to your question, yes, I think he should be.
To the CFP rankings tomorrow, Mario, I know we chatted a little bit after the game about this. You'd said you feel you guys belong in that conversation. You're not going to get into campaigning. There's a long way to go. But when your team does see it tomorrow night, whether you're 6, you're 7, you're 8, whatever the number is, what's the message immediately thereafter, whether that's late tomorrow night after the rankings or first thing Wednesday? What do you want to be driving home to your team after they see whatever the first number is?
Yeah, we stay simple. We go back to 1-0 mentality. I mean, we like to keep it that way. And, we reminded our guys last week as we were climbing in the polls that, okay, you have to look at it because it's going to be right in your face when you pick up your phone, you get on social media, but also recognize as much as it is due to progressing and having success, it's also due to teams that were in front of us, not coming through on a particular weekend and allowing us to climb and jump some people. So, look, I really believe, we have felt our consequences before, and we've learned a lot from it, and we absolutely refuse to stray from what has gotten us to this point. So we just got to go back to work and get better.
A couple of teams who are in front of you are playing this week, and I know you're familiar with both of them in Alabama and LSU. You were part of that rivalry for a good number of years. Do you watch this weekend's game? And what was that rivalry like for you, Mario? Because you got all wins while at Alabama, but there was that overtime game in 2014, came down to the wire. You guys got a field goal at the end of regulation. The defense bowed up in overtime. This year's game has a lot of hype around it, but what was that rivalry like for you, and will you watch this year's matchup?
Yeah, I'll watch every possible second of football that I can on Saturday, all while preparing for our next opponent. But it's invaluable to watch live situations and in your head call the game as you see it and see how you could maybe be in the same situation and benefit from a little practice in it. But no, that's a great rivalry. It's real intense. It'll be a physical, just real hard fought, great football game. So yeah, we'll certainly be tuning into that game and a bunch of other games on Saturday.
You know both of the head coaches in that game very, very well. Ed Orgeron. Yeah, just a bit. Just a bit. Yeah. With Ed O, the stories around him are always phenomenal. Between just pounding Red Bulls relentlessly, punching himself in the face during pregame speeches. Would you ever punch yourself in the face during a pregame speech?
Would I punch myself in the face? That's
what Ed does. Yeah, Ed does it. I'm asking you because I'm afraid if you did it, you might knock yourself out.
No, I don't think. Coach Orgeron was actually our graduate assistant D-line coach when I was a player at Miami.
Yeah, that's what I asked.
So I go way back with Coach O and obviously worked for Coach Saban at Alabama. I've never thought of punching myself in the face or anywhere for that matter. So I think I'll pass on that part. I've never seen him punch himself in the face either.
Well, apparently it's like a weekly thing almost, according to LSU's players. I mean, the man, you know how intense he is. That's why I ask. It's kind of comical. I mean, he's such a character, but he really gets that team lives and breathes off his energy into that way. And I know that your energy clearly goes through your players as well in your own way. How do you try? We'll get you out of here on this, Mara. How do you try and do that your way authentically on a weekly basis where, especially when your team is ascending as it is right now, so that you're not repetitive, I'm not going to ever use stale exactly, but you know what I'm saying? Like that it's something new, that it strikes the right chord, and it gets your guys in the right mindset right before they leave that locker room.
Well, I think the first thing is we built this place from the inside out, so everything is very real. There is our players would recognize if there's any nonsense trying to be put in front of them from a false motivation type of manner. So every single week has its messaging, and we really do feel that one of the best things a man could take into a battle is a really, really good reason. And every week there are a number of reasons why we need to be at our very best. And we wouldn't have time to get into all that stuff right there, but we do it collectively. I never look at this as just a me thing. This is the staff, the players together. We come together and we create a juice and an energy that really kind of creates our secret sauce at being successful on Saturdays.
Appreciate you joining us again, Mario. Look forward to seeing you again throughout this week as the Ducks enter their second bye week of the season. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You're listening to the James Crepea Show on Fox Sports Eugene.